What up? We are live, y'all. Live on YouTube. Running a little bit late tonight. I'm running around sweating, y'all, for you guys. For those of you who don't have children, you don't know what it is to have a newborn. My life is kind of crazy right now. For those of you who don't know, I just had a baby girl 2 days ago, so I'm excited about that. Good stuff happening. Hey, Jackie. And I'll wait for some people to hop on here, and as people hop on here, I'm going to write down tonight's quote of the night. Casey, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Jackie. Let me write this down real quick. Is that showing up backwards for you guys? Or is that forwards? Can you guys read that, or is that backwards? If that's backwards, I'm just going to skip writing it. Oh, it's forward. Okay, all right, good. Okay, let's see if that's showing up. All right, so is that, you guys probably can't even read my writing, but is that forward? I never know. Okay. All right, so Killer Meister right off the bat is asking if it's gonna be a second stream for unrelated questions. Sure, but tonight's kind of a big, broad, open forum. Anyway, you guys see it's a big, broad topic we're gonna talk about. So we can answer a bunch of questions on here. So I would hop on here and stay on here. If you guys are hyped for tonight and ready for tonight, give me a like. Let me know you guys are ready while I prepare my thoughts. I've been running around today with this children, trying to get my life figured out. So today's talk is kind of inspired by my personal situation right now. What's up, Allie? So to recap, I already have a child who just turned 2 actually on July 3rd. And then now I just had a baby girl who's born also on July 3rd, right? And so this is actually a good topic. So this guy came on here, he's called me a dumb nigger. This is what this guy just said on our live feed here, if you guys aren't catching that. And so I guess he's back. I thought I beat him. I thought I outlasted him. But anyway, so this guy's on here again. But anyway, so my life, it's all beautiful stuff happening right now. With that being said, right, I got these kids happening. And so I thought it was a good time to bring up, see, Charles, it's a good question. The shirts are coming, guys. I'm trying to figure out a way to get them to you guys that isn't super expensive. That's what's happening. But anyway, okay. So the quote for tonight: you can have anything you want, you just can't have everything you want. And this is so true, guys. And the sooner you realize this, the sooner you'll start seeing the success you want to have. And so many of us, right, we go up in the society where we say, oh, I want everything. I want it all, right? I want everything. And the truth is, guys, you cannot have everything, but you can have anything you want. And the title of this video tonight was, do you really want medical school? Because I hear students all the time who will email me, send me questions, want to work with me. And for you guys that don't know, I've actually now, I've had a screening process back in the day when I was mentoring people. And now that I'm coaching people, I'm now instituting a screening policy, because what's frustrating me is I'm working with students and I can tell they don't really want medical school. They don't really want medical school. They think they want medical school, right? They kind of want it, but they don't really want medical school. And so I encourage you guys, right? Give me 1 second. I encourage you guys to really ask yourself, how bad do you really want medical school? And my situation this week kind of brought this up because now I have 2 kids. People who don't have kids, you don't know. Kids are crazy. So having the 2 kids, very time consuming. And a lot of people like to ask me, well, Andre, how do you get so much stuff done? How do you stay doing all this stuff? How are you doing residency where you're working 80+ hours a week? How are you doing your business and helping students? How are you getting out and doing these talks and all these things? And it's because of understanding this, okay? You can have anything you want, you just can't have everything. And I understood that going into the process. And I think if you guys can figure that out, you'll be more successful. And what I mean by this is I have my kids, right? And so with my kids, that takes up a lot of time. And then with my residency, that takes up a lot of time. And then working with you guys takes up a lot of time. But you have to kind of choose how bad you want something. And so for me, what I want is to really change the world and bring positivity. Not like this guy who's spewing N-bombs on this live feed. But that's a perfect example, right? I could try to be out here pleasing everybody or really care what people say and different types of things. And this guy thinks that he's phasing me with his negativity. But, right, it can never phase me. Like we were talking about yesterday, right? Being independent, being free of mind. So I got into a big argument actually with my anesthesia advisor because he doesn't believe in what I'm doing right now because it's not anesthesia related. He says, hey, you're working with these pre-meds, you're doing all this stuff, you're trying to help students. What does that have to do with pre-med? And what I got asked was, how does that fit in with anesthesia? How does you helping students and empowering students and motivating students, how does that fit into anesthesia? And how is that going to make you a better anesthesia? And the fact of the matter, it doesn't make you a better anesthesia, but it makes me a better person, I feel. And so that's what I'm pursuing. And so I realized I couldn't make everybody happy, but I can make myself happy. And it's the same with you guys. You're budgeting your time is you guys want to be getting into medical school, having all the friends, doing what you want to do, having spring break and all these kind of things. And it was the perfect example was I offered someone, I said, hey, listen, what are you doing this summer? Like I have a little bit of free time. Like if you're around, come shadow me. And the student said, oh, I can't come shadow you this summer, right? Because I have to go home and visit with my family. And I said, well, do you want to go to medical school or do you want to go visit your family? And they were like, well, I have to go home and see my family. When am I going to see my family? And they haven't understood this quote. If you look at my undergrad and how I spent my college, and people ask how I got so much stuff done, my resume was off the charts applying to medical school, right? My application was thick. I had amazing activities and I was rich in all these types of things. And the reason is because I didn't take a break. I knew that I couldn't have everything. I couldn't have the family balance at that time. I had to grind and work my way to get to Stanford Medical School. So every break, I was doing something. I was just trying to think about it before I got on here to think about what I did, but let's run it back. So the summer entering, entering undergrad, I did a summer program where I took introductory chemistry, I took some other classes to kind of get ahead on my credits, start things rolling. Then I was taking 20 plus units every single quarter my first year, getting that done. Then, right, winter break, I could have gone home. I didn't go home. I spent that, right, because you guys who know my story know that I was told that I wasn't good enough. So I spent that time, right, improving my studying, learning more about studying. Then the following summer after my first year, I went that summer and I did research, okay? And I did research, and then I went to England. And I went to England and I did 8 weeks. I did organic chemistry all over the summer. And then I came back, did my school year, right? The following summer, I was in Mexico doing research. Then I came back. Then the following summer, I was at my university, at University of California, Irvine, doing research all summer long. So as you see, I never had any summers off. And that may seem awful, but not taking that time off allowed me then to get into a medical school that was pass-fail, which is another video we're going to talk about, the importance of picking a pass-fail medical school for my people who are applying right now. Super important, number one factor. If a school's not pass-fail, do not go if you don't have to, okay? So, but doing all this great stuff allowed me to go to Stanford where people were very supportive, very flexible. We had a pass-fail system, and I was able to do the things I want to do and have more flexibility, have more freedom, and spend time with my wife, right? And then I used that time valuably, right? I said, you know what? I'm going to learn everything I can in medical school, but I understand that a lot of this medical stuff is not necessarily relevant to my practice. So I learned as much as I could, but to get my step 1 score, to be proficient, to be an outstanding clinician, but I didn't go and learn all the minutia of, you know, histology and all these things that were never going to come up for me again. And instead, I spent some time with my wife and my family, right, and putting that time in. And now I'm in residency, I don't hang out with the family really at all, right? And it's unfortunate, but I just had a kid on the 3rd. Today is the 5th, and I'm right back at work tomorrow, pulling a 16, right? And then I'm back for a 24 2 days later. So I know that I'm not going to be having family time right now. I know that, right? Because I can't have everything, but I can have anything I want. And what I've chosen to do is to focus on being a doctor, because through being a doctor, I can inspire and make change. And so if I don't take care of that, all of it's for naught. The other thing that I think about is that all the work and all the time I'm putting in right now and not putting with my family, and it sucks, right? It's not what I want, but I have to make a decision for the future. And by becoming a doctor, I ensure that I'm always paid well, comparatively, right? I'll never be making minimum wage as a physician. And so that's all time I can create where I can work less and be able to spend more time with my family, right? So you have to recognize, ooh, shut your dumb black mouth. I love it. So you haven't been on here in a while. I appreciate you coming back. Anyway, so so this is, I like when this guy comes on here, guys, because it's a good example for all of you. It's a perfect example for all of you. This stuff this guy's saying to me is nothing, because I've had people say this to my face, right? Being black in medicine, I hear racist stuff all the time. It makes no difference to me, right? I brush it off and I keep moving, because the way you show people that you're not a dumb nigger, or you're not something like that, is that you go beyond that, right? And you show them that you're intelligent. So he can say whatever he wants, but I know who I am, you guys know who I am, and we know who we are, where we're going, right? So don't worry about that. When people come, we talked about this yesterday, right? Freedom of mind. No one can contain my mind and what I'm doing. I'm going. And they can keep up or not keep up. It's all good. So for you guys, that's what I want to talk about tonight, is what are you guys, do you really, really want medical school? Do you really, really want it? And are you willing to give up other things? And I think this is, right, a lot of people say, oh, I'll do anything to get to medical school. I'll do anything. But what they don't stop and ask themselves is, what would you give up to get to medical school? That's the flip side of it, right? You can work hard, you can work hard, you can work hard, but are you willing to sacrifice maybe a little family time? Are you willing to sacrifice a little bit of calm, right? A little bit of stress relieving time? Are you willing to push yourself to the brink where you feel like you can't go on anymore, right? I slept about 2.5 hours last night. I didn't sleep at all the previous 2 nights, and I'm here, I'm with you guys. Instead of going to sleep, I'm here with you guys on YouTube, going live, giving you guys some information, right? Because I've made a conscious decision that, you know what, sleep, it really isn't, I could sleep, or I could be bringing you guys information. I could be building up stuff. Like if I were to flip around and show you guys my computer right now, my desk is a mess. I have books everywhere. I'm constantly working, putting in that work to create high-level materials for you guys. And someone sent me an email the other day. So I will actually explain, Caitlin, how I keep this energy going, how I keep this stuff going. But someone asked me the other day, they said, hey, can you break down your credentials? How do I know your stuff works? And I said, my stuff works because I'm obsessed. I don't sleep. I'm constantly, okay, what's happening? What's the latest in studying? What can I do? How can I tweak this? How can I do things? Like I presented last week. I was up at a couple schools last week, and I have, in my computer, I probably have about 50 different multi-hour presentations that I could give. But every time I go out, I create a new presentation because I hate settling for something. I feel like there's always ways I can tweak, change the slide, make this better, bring in a new concept. Oh, I read about this, I saw this. So last week I did interview prep, and I did another session on motivation and finding your purpose, right? So you can beat procrastination. And I've given a talk before on finding motivation and beating procrastination. And so I was supposed to do 2 hours. And so I was like, oh, I can go out and do this regular one I normally do, but let me change it up and do something different. This is a great time because McGregor and Mayweather are fighting. And I'm gonna do another video about this because this is a great video for you guys to talk about, you know, finding motivation and stomping on haters and really getting where you wanna go. McGregor and Mayweather, if you don't follow McGregor and Mayweather on Instagram, I highly recommend you start following them because that's who your heroes should be. You should be looking at these guys who came from nothing and now are about to make $200+ million for a fight. And I was talking about this in a session where we were talking about finding purpose and finding procrastination. And the 2-hour session turned into a 5-hour session where we were talking about motivation and procrastination. But I feel like it was such a rich discussion, and it was very emotional at points and all those kind of things. But I felt like me taking the time to make a whole new presentation and bringing in some stuff that was new and fresh and relevant to what's happening now really enriched discussion and helped kind of propel it and make it go from a 2-hour to a 5-hour talk. So anyway, so how do I get by with very little sleep? The truth is, you have to, it's a matter of mindset. And you have to know that you're going to be tired if you're giving up sleep. And it's not sustainable for forever, but you can go through runs of a year and a half with very little sleep, and you just got to do it and suck it up. And I think that I talk a lot about positivity. A lot of you guys, you say, oh, be positive to yourselves, but you're not really being positive to yourselves, right? You're not being positive. You're not really living that positive lifestyle. And for me, when you're tired, right? So think about this. When you get tired, what do you say? Oh, I'm tired. Oh, I feel tired today. And you tell everybody around you, oh, I feel tired. Me, I don't do that. I feel energized. I'm ready to go. You feel tired? No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. And I say that so much that I trick my body into not being tired. That's how you do it. And it's the same way with studying. When you guys are like, man, I can't study anymore. I can't go forward. You got to tell yourself, no, I can study more and I will study more. And this is why I will study more. I will study more because this is my future. These books in front of me, yes, I don't want to read this. But what I do want to have is a future. And if I don't put the time into these books, then you can't get it done. And a lot of you guys are not able to brainwash yourselves. I brainwash myself every single day. Oh yeah, everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be positive. Everything's going to be wonderful. Every single day. I wake up. I do affirmations every morning. I do affirmations before I go to sleep. I'm constantly telling myself every single day that I'm the man, right? And you guys see I come on here. I've got confidence coming out of my ears, right? Nothing you guys ever say hurts my feelings. Because I tell myself every day I'm the biggest, I'm the baddest, I'm the best, I'm the greatest. Every single day, I tell myself that, hey, today I'm going to learn something new. Hey, today I'm going to be better than I was yesterday. Hey, today I'm going to inspire someone. Today I'm going to change somebody's life. That's what I do. Every single day. So I live it, I breathe it, and so it can't be anything else. I don't let myself think anything else other than I'm bringing positivity. I'm bringing positivity. I'm not bringing negativity. I'm bringing this. I'm bringing this. It's just what I do. And so you guys have to invest that in yourselves. And it doesn't take much. This is way off topic, on topic. But the first way you want to start off, people try to get fancy by all these books about motivation and whatever. The very first thing you can do, take out a piece of paper, cut it in half, right? Take the piece of paper right in the middle. On the left side of the piece of paper, write down positive feelings. On the right side of the paper, write down negative feelings. And it's harder, the hard way to do this is to write all the positives and write all the negatives. Alternate. Just words that come to your mind. Oh, what am I thinking right now? Oh, and write it down. Positive and negative, positive, negative, positive, negative on the whole piece of paper. And then what I want you to do is I want you to beat all those negative things on this. So let's run an example. Let me grab a shirt here. I let my kid come in here and draw on the board, and he stole my eraser. So I'm using a t-shirt. You guys didn't see this. This is a fancy fangled eraser. All right. Positives and negatives. So for me, something that I think is positive is I want to inspire. And I feel like I have the capability to inspire. Something that's negative, that you may think about yourself, right? Don't know enough, right? Won't listen to me. Change lives. Teach, okay? All right, so this is just brief, right? Inspire, change lives, teach. I don't know enough, people won't listen to me, and even when they listen to me, people may not hear me, right? And you keep these positive things, and you look for ways to magnify these based on experience, and you look for ways to minimize these things based on experiences. And then from that, you build out your affirmations. So inspire. So you say something like, okay, well, inspire. Well, am I inspiring? Yes, I will inspire. I have inspired. In fact, I inspired this person. They told me this, da-da-da, and you build a story around it. And that story then, when you say that affirmation, you don't have to say the story, but when you say, I inspire, you're really thinking about that story of when you inspired someone. I will change a life. I will change a life. And I'll tell you guys a story that when I say I will change a life, this is what I think of when I say that affirmation. I was in high school. When I was in high school, I was reasonably popular, right? Reasonably popular. People liked me. There was a kid at my school who was a white kid who was redhead, and he wore FUBU. And for people who don't know who FUBU is, Google that after this, and you'll see what's up. But he was a white kid, freckles, red hair, who wore FUBU, and his FUBU was way oversized. And he never looked people in the eye. And so everyone thought he was really, really weird, and people treated him mean. And so I said, you know what, that's not right. Let me take him under my wing. And so I took him under my wing, and I was with him. And yes, exactly, Shark Tank, Felix got on the head. So I would take people, so what did Kasim say? You changed my life, Dr. Dre, I am forever. Thank you very much. I'm glad I've changed your life. So I'm gonna remember that, Kasim. I'm gonna think of Kasim. But so I took this guy under my wing, and we hung out for a year. And when I first went up to him, I was like, hey, how you doing? I'm Andre. What's your name? And he wouldn't look me in the eye. He was looking down. I was like, hey, what's up? And I'm trying to make eye contact. And he really wouldn't talk to me. And so finally, I was just like, you know what? Come on, man. So I put my arm around him. I brought him over my table. We sat down. We had lunch. He didn't say anything the whole time. Next day, we repeated this, and it got better and better and better over time. And he started talking a little bit, making a little bit of eye contact, all that stuff. And then I took him to dance. Got him to dance with some girls, you know, meet some people. It was a great time. So then at the end of the year, he goes to me, he's like, hey, I just want to let you know that this has been the best year of my life. And based on this year, I feel like I can go on and be successful. He's like, I've had an awful life. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? What's going on? And so he goes to tell me that he actually, this is a deep story. So parental discretion advised. Everyone, you know, have your hearts in hand when you hear this. But he goes on to tell me that he was actually molested by his older brother growing up for multiple years. He then told his teacher. He told his teacher told his parents what was happening and said, hey, stop it, get the kid to stop it, all this kind of stuff. Okay? The older brother didn't stop doing it, so then he told his teacher again. The teacher said, oh, the parents aren't doing anything. So they reported to CPS. When they reported to CPS, they actually pulled the kid, the younger brother, right, the kid I was with, pulled him from the home, moved him to a different state, and put him in a boys' home in the foster system because they said his parents weren't fit. So he had to lose contact, couldn't contact his parents, lost contact with his brother, right, and then his whole family. So now he's out here in California, going to my high school, but he lives in a boys' home, and it turns out in that boys' home, right, they get hand-me-down clothes, whatever's available. It turns out what's available at the boys' home? FUBU, and it was oversized, right? So he wore this FUBU not because he was trying to, you know, be black, as people would say, right? I think it's an awful expression, but that's what people thought about him, right? And so instead, right, this is what he was forced to wear. He didn't make eye contact because the people who were supposed to care about him most in his life had betrayed him. And so for all these things, he told me that having that year where somebody cared about him, took him under their wing, this stuff, it said it changed his life and his outlook. And so when I think of I will change lives, I think of that. And so I say, I will change lives, I will change lives, I will change lives. That's what you think about, right? And then on the same side, right, when you guys have negative thoughts, right, and things that are going to hold you back, right, and you guys know this, right, you're trying to be positive, but negative things just keep creeping in, keep picking at you. Other people say negative things, all these things, right, they creep in on you, right? So something that I might think if I go out and I talk to students, you know what? I don't know enough. I don't know enough to teach people. I don't know enough to reach people. I don't know enough. Well, let's break that down, right? Let's break down these negative things and bring them back to positive. Well, how can I not know enough? I spent more time than anybody else studying these things. Of course I know enough. I've reviewed all my flashcards. I've gone over my PowerPoint slides 1,000 times. I'm ready for this. I do know enough. I know enough. They won't listen to me. Well, I'm going to make them listen to me. I'm going to be engaging. I'm going to be inspiring. I'm going to be mixing it up with them. I'm going to be here with them on a human level and make them listen to me. And then through that, right, they won't necessarily hear me on the first time. They might not hear me. But I'm going to be attentive to everybody in the audience. And if I see someone and I see eyes that tell me they're not engaged with me, they're not listening, they're not really hearing what I'm saying, it's not really getting into their dome, I'm going to call them out. I'm not going to let it slide. I'm going to call them out. Nobody slips through the cracks. I'm going to call them out, and bam, they will hear me. And this happened last week when I was at UCLA. I said one of my affirmations in the session. One of my affirmations that I say to myself every single day is everything I am and everything I ever will be is a direct result of me, my effort, my care, my focus, and my attention. I say it to myself every single day. And I said this to them, and I said, listen, you guys can be anything you want to be, but you have to focus, put your energy there, put your time there, put everything you have into whatever you want. And he was looking at me like, nah, I don't believe you, I don't believe you, I don't believe you, looking like that. So I said, yeah, hey, you're not hearing me, hear me now. And I kept picking on him for 45 minutes, picking on him. And then finally after the session, he came up and he's like, man, you're right. You're right. I have all this stuff limiting me, and I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to expand and live my potential. I was like, yes. And then we hugged, and it was awesome. So that's how I break through the negative things. And so that was kind of roundabout, but I hope you guys got what I was talking about there. Whatever it is in your personal life, find the positive and break down the negative. And use positive stories to make it all true for you, make it real. So it's not just something you say, it's something you live, it's something real. If that makes sense to you guys, give me a like right now. Give me a like right now if that makes sense. I'm gonna get a drink of water. Give me a like. All right, so that's my rant for tonight. So what I want you guys to do is make sure that you really, really want medical school. And if you want it, go get it, guys. Stop bullshitting around and go get medical school. Go be about it. Go reach for the, like, go get it. Stop playing, okay? Live it. Don't fake the funk. Like a lot of you guys out here, you fake pre-meds, you fake pre-dental, you fake pre-life. You're faking life. Go live it, right? If you want to get a girl, go get a girl. Stop messing around. All right, so. All right. So my newborn is good. Thank you for asking, C. Charles. Newborn is outstanding. It's just hectic trying to get a household together. You know how it is. All right. So knee-deep science, yes. Really, I want to go to medical school. Good. That's what I like to hear. Thank you guys for all the congratulations. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Thank you, Evans. You are the greatest there ever was. I appreciate that. I do feel like I'm the greatest there ever was. All right. Let's get to some questions now so you guys can ask some questions. Thank you guys for tuning in tonight. Like I said, I'm sorry I'm going a little bit late, but I appreciate you guys sticking with me. Anastasia, what is up? So Anastasia is one of the students who works with me. We just put together her application, and Anastasia actually just got an amazing MCAT score. I won't put her out here, but her MCAT score is off the hook. So I'm excited about that. And that's, so this is the other thing, guys. So I work with a lot of students. You guys, like, I'll say my stuff is good, but I don't use a lot of student references only because I feel like, yes, my advice, what I teach, my courses are amazing, but at the same time, it all means nothing unless you guys go out and actually execute. Like my courses, my MCAT course, my study course, my interview course are phenomenal, out of this freaking world, at my website, www.premedproductivity.com. But I don't take credit for people's success, because if you are successful, if you take my course and then you get straight A's, yes, my course helped, but what it really is it's you taking the time to take what you learned and actually executing in your classes. It's you putting in the work, you putting in the hours, you putting in the dedication, you applying the material. That's you. So I commend everyone who puts in the work and gets the results they want. And so Anastasia, a tremendous credit goes to her, because it's her work that did it through my guidance, but she put the work and the effort in. So I love students who work hard and get stuff done, and she's one of those students. So keep coming down. I think we outlasted that guy who was dropping N-bombs on here. Okay, so first question, Killer Meister says, hi doc, is it true that within some surgical residencies, doctors teaching residents will not allow them to learn by, what did I just do? Cancel. Uh-oh, I think I just broke something. Okay, so the question was, is it true that in some surgical residencies, physicians will not let residents learn by actually touching and doing surgeries? That's actually not true. So at various points in your career, you get more and more responsibilities. And so it's like I'm always trying to tell you guys that you guys think that doctors are these perfect people who know everything. You think medical students are these perfect people who know everything. Medical students don't know anything. They know nothing about medicine. And I can tell you this as someone who was a medical student and who thought I knew a lot about medicine. And then every level I moved up, I didn't know anything about medicine. So my first 2 years in medical school, right, when we're in the classroom, we're learning about all this theoretical clinical stuff, I thought it was amazing. Oh, I'm gonna go into clinics, I'm gonna kill it. And then third year, I started clinical rotations, and I realized I didn't know anything that was useful. I knew very little in the scope of clinical practice. And then I was like, oh, third and fourth year, I'm balling out. This is amazing. Go to my intern year, and then my intern year, I'm like, dang it, I don't know any, like to manage these patients at this high level, I don't know enough. I have to learn more. And then I was like, okay, I finally figured that out, and I get to residency for anesthesia. I'm like, I'm ready. I'm like, oh, wait, I don't even know how to push a patient bed. Like I had to start from scratch. How do you even start an IV, right? All these things. And so at every level, you don't know anything. And so with surgical residence, with any residency, your level of independence, your instructors, your attendings will look at you and look at your skill and see what you're ready for and what you're not ready for. And so as you progress through your residency, you'll get more and more independence and more ability to do things on your own. Like I said in my video, I did a video maybe about 2 or 3 months ago, talking about my first night alone in the ICU. So prior to that, there was always an attending who was in the hospital. So if something like really crazy jumped off, I could always call and get a second pair of hands. Well, then a couple months ago, I was left alone in the hospital because I had reached that level of independence. And so now there's no one else who's anesthesia trained in the hospital, and everything's on me. And so it's ratcheting up. So in residency, it's the same way. With surgical residents, at first you're not doing a whole lot of cutting, and then as time progresses, you are able to get independent, get your hands in there, and do surgeries. So whoever told you that doesn't know what they're talking about. All right. All right. Thank you, Stephanie, for your kind comment. Thank you guys for all your kind comments. Appreciate it. Okay, so Hannah asks, what in your opinion is the difference between a person who wants it versus who doesn't really want it? And Hannah, it's a really basic question. I think the easiest way to say this is that you have to weigh out what it really takes to get where you want to go. So if we're talking about medical school, right, and this is one of the biggest things that I try to talk to students about whenever I'm advising them about applying, and people who work with me can tell you this, the number one thing I tend to tell people is to take your time. Get it right the first time when you go to apply. Get it right the first time when you take the MCAT. People are like, oh yeah, everyone takes the MCAT 2 times. Well, everyone takes the MCAT 2 times because everyone's in a rush to get there, instead of taking their time and doing it right the first time. And so as you progress through your career, the reason people rush is because they haven't, in their mind, they haven't come to grips, and they're not comfortable, right, with, oh my gosh, it's gonna take me 50,000 years to become a doctor. It's gonna take me 50,000 years. It's gonna take me 4 years of undergrad, minimum. It's gonna take me 4 years of medical school. It's gonna take minimum. It's gonna take me 4+ years of residency, minimum. And people aren't comfortable with those years, and they don't realize it's gonna be, most of their life is gonna be spent in training. And so what they try to do is rush the process because they haven't made it up in their minds that they really, really are committed and will stick with medicine for however long it takes to get there. And the perfect example, as someone who really, really wants it, is one of my proudest students I've ever worked with was a student who was not a science major, who had no science background, who had been out and was a trapeze artist, if you guys believe this. Was actually a trapeze artist, went to circus school, traveled the world doing trapeze. And she came to me, she said, hey, listen, I heard you know the process of getting medical school. I'm really in a bad boat. My grades were bad. And then I transferred out of college and went to a non-traditional circus school, which I didn't know they have, but they have circus school. And I learned trapeze, and I've been doing trapeze for years, but I really want to go to medical school. I really, really want it. And I said, well, if you really want it, we can come up with a plan, but it's going to be a long time and a lot of work on your part. And it's one of my proudest medical school admissions because she got into the University of Arizona, which, if you guys know, University of Arizona, it's like a mid-tier medical school, right? But it's one of the proudest admissions I've ever had a student get because this girl worked 7 years. From the day I met her, she worked 7 years to become a competent applicant to get into medical school. 7 years. That's someone who really, really wanted it, guys. They spent 7 years building up their credentials to be able to get into medical school. And they did it, right? She did it. but it was 7 years. And so that's the kind of dedication it takes to get to medical school. And that's someone in their mind, that's people I like working with who are like, man, I'll do anything. Even if it takes me 1,000 years, I'll get there. And then boom, you go. And so that's why I tell people, like, you can always get to medical school. It doesn't take anything special. It takes hard work and a great solid plan of execution of how you're gonna get there, right? Doing well on the MCAT doesn't take a whole lot. It just takes a solid plan and then you taking the time to actually work that plan. Application, solid plan of understanding the fundamentals of how to sell yourself on an application, and then taking the actual time to do that, to rework your personal statement 15 times. When I wrote my personal statement, I did at least 5 separate drafts, like entirely different 5 separate personal statements. And then from those personal statements, I mixed and matched and made another like bajillion drafts of my personal statement. And then I reworked it and I reworked it and I gave it to friends and family, had them look at it and just kind of for content. And I reworked it and I reworked it. I went through like all these revisions. And the end thing, when people see my personal statement, like we did that webinar last month and I showed everyone my personal statement, and people are like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. It should be amazing. I spent more hours than probably anyone's ever spent on a personal statement. But that was the commitment I made, that I really, really wanted medical school. So I was going to do everything I could to make sure there was no reason, there was nothing that a medical school could kick me, or not kick me out, not let me in because of. So that's how you know if someone really wants it or if they don't really want it. They are committed. Justin, you are welcome. You're welcome. Thank you guys for your kind words as always. I'm doing wonderful, Leston. Thank you. Was it Lester? Leston. Thank you very much. I'm doing wonderful. Oh, Hannah brought a little Eric Thomas in here. I love Eric Thomas. So the quote is, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. And that's what it's got to be, right? Because we know we can't, right? We can't live without air. And if you make it up in your mind that you can't live without medical school or whatever else you're doing, that's, right? So I know, like, we were having this discussion about depression the other day, and I'm actually putting together a whole course about depression and anxiety, and I don't put stuff out if it's not research based, so I'm going way back into the archives of everything I've written about it and all these books, and I'm reading even more books and articles. But one of the things that we talk about is the drive and wanting something so bad, right? You want it just as bad as breathing. And for me, I hate going to residency. It's awful. I think it's terrible how medical training goes. I think it's ridiculous, but that's a whole other story. But to balance that out, right? My mission, I had this whole conversation I mentioned with my mentor, my anesthesia mentor the other day, and he didn't understand what I'm doing and how it fits in anesthesia. And I told him flat out, I was like, I don't care what anybody has to say or what anybody thinks about what I'm doing, because this is what I'm passionate about and this is what matters to me. And I want to be successful as an advisor and as giving you guys information that's out of this world. I want to be that guy for you guys, and that's my passion. That's what drives me. So I want that more than I want to sleep, more than I want to eat, more than I want to do all these other things, and so I can prioritize it and put it there. So yeah, little Eric Thomas coming in there. Shout out to him. All right. Sorry, guys. I have to scroll through the whole chat box here. Cheryl, thank you very much for your kind words. So Adam said, already making big sacrifices and will continue to do so. That's the way you gotta have that mentality, guys. It's about sacrifice. And I'll give you guys a perfect example of sacrifice. So my mom got remarried, I wanna say 2 or 3 years ago. And I couldn't even go to her wedding because I was so focused on getting what I had to get done to continue my medical career. And that's a big thing, right? When your parent gets married, you wanna be there. But I have to make that kind of decision and that kind of sacrifice because getting ahead in my medical career means everything to me, because that's my focus. That's what I want, right? That's what I want. So I have to make sure that I stay focused on that and do what I have to do for that. Give me a second here, guys. Thank you guys for staying with me on here. I appreciate it. Everyone, please take a moment to... Oh. Let me see if I can get rid of these. Sorry, guys, in this pause here to click through these. Yes, exactly, Matt. The grind makes it all worth it. Yes, you can sleep when you're dead, Casey. C. Charles asked, my event in Austin in the fall, is it a closed event? No, it's an open event. So you guys will be getting information about that. If you guys aren't already... So when I do these, so it's so funny, you guys will watch all these YouTube videos, and then when I do it, something promoting one of my events, you guys don't really watch them, but you'll see a YouTube video, you'll also see it on my social media posted when I'm coming to Austin, Texas in the fall. It is an open event, so anyone can attend. If you're in the area, you should definitely come out. It'll be awesome. Okay, so more questions here. So Emmanuel asks, what are your thoughts on becoming a medical scribe in efforts of gaining clinical experience versus traditional shadowing? Okay. Oh, Evans, watching this as you're about to submit your MCAT. Congratulations. Get it off. It's the beginning of July. If you guys have not submitted, you should be submitting right now. I'm going to write down some of these questions, guys, because comments are disappearing as you guys keep typing. Wow, there's a bunch of you guys on here. I appreciate you guys staying on here with me. Give me a like if you're still on here and active in this room. I appreciate it. We're at 42 minutes. So also, the moral of today's story is not to sacrifice sleep, okay? Get sleep. Sleep is very, very important, guys. But you got to do what you got to do to get where you want to go, right? It's all about getting where you want to go. So Noah, how long does it take for email response? So I'm still a little bit behind email responses. It just kind of happens as I have time. As you can see, I'm going to have less time now with the kid. But just as I have time, I'm going to do email responses. I also saw Casey asking about webinars for the courses. And so if you're not in one of my courses, ignore this. But if you're in one of my courses, this is a group announcement here. So as you guys saw in the Facebook group, I made an announcement about rescheduling those webinars because some of you guys couldn't access the webinar link and there were some issues. So I want to make sure everybody can get on those webinars live. So you guys can get another link for a new webinar enrollment in the next 1 to 2 days, just depending on when I can put the link together and put it together properly. So I'm going to email it out. I'm also going to post it in the Facebook group. And then I'm also going to post it actually in the course listings there, in that webinar tab in the course. So that'll also be there for you guys. So Sedfino TV says, how can I set up a meeting with you? So there's a coaching tab on my website, www.premedproductivity.com. Fill out a coaching sheet, and then we can meet. So C. Charles asked about that guy, the story from my high school. We are not still cool, actually. I actually lost touch with him actually right after that year. So if you guys don't know the foster system, really sad. You age out of the foster system. So when you turn 18, they actually just kick you out with no money in your pocket and expect you to survive. And so that's what happened to him. And so I lost touch with him. I don't know whatever happened. So Edgar says, any advice for an incoming first-year medical student in his 30s, married, no kids? Okay. All right, so let's get some of these questions. So Scribe versus shadowing. So what is the objective of getting clinical experience and clinical exposure? The whole point of getting clinical experience and clinical exposure is so that way you can show medical students or show medical schools and tell medical schools that you are genuinely interested in medicine and you have a perspective of what medicine is. And you do that by doing some sort of clinical experience, whether it's scribing, shadowing, volunteering, candy striping, whatever it might be. You do that by doing these things. And so scribe versus shadow, it really doesn't matter. It just depends on how you want to spend your time. A lot of people get all hyped up about medical scribe. Oh, it's going to make me stand out on my application. But yes, but how many people do medical scribing? A million, right? I would say, let's call it 40% of applicants, maybe 50% of applicants are medical scribes at some point in their lives, right? How many people shadow who apply to medical school? That number is probably 99% of people who apply to medical school have shadowed someone. So the way you candy striping is hospital volunteering. So the way you make yourself stand out in whatever the experiences you're doing is that you, while you're in that experience, you actually make an impact, make a difference, and then have stories about your experience. So if you're a medical scribe, right, look for some kind of process or teaching or something you can put in to the medical scribe system at where you're working at to enhance the program. Then your letter of recommendation from the medical scribe head will be a better letter of recommendation. You'll also be able to speak and stand out in your descriptions area because you can talk about, listen, instead of being just a regular medical scribe, I put in an infrastructure to help them train more medical scribes more effectively and help more patients. Or if you're a medical scribe and that's not going to be you, you're not going to be able to do something that like out of the ordinary, at least take the time to actually reflect every day on your patient encounters and your patient experiences and focus on creating stories out of those patient encounters. So when you go to write up that description on your application, you can be able to pop in stories that make you stand apart from everyone else who just says, I was a medical scribe charged with typing up and reporting, but like it's boring. So that's how you stand out. In terms of shadowing and how you stand out, right, because you want that great letter of recommendation, when you shadow, don't be the person who bounces around acting like a little kid. Be excited, be enthusiastic, but be professional. Add something, right? So when you go, when you know you're going to see a leg amputation, take a couple minutes and read about leg amputation. If you're going to be shadowing a cardiologist, it might behoove you to learn a little basics about EKG. Don't go in there and say, well, I don't know anything because I'm not a medical student. Oh, I'll learn this stuff later. Learn about EKG. Learn about some basic cardiac physiology, some cardiac pathophysiology. That way you're not an idiot when you go in there, and they can give you a little bit more responsibility, a little bit more engaged with the patients, right? If you know how to do a cardiac exam, they're more likely to let you listen to someone's heart, right? So all those things will help you stand out in these experiences, and that's how it translates on your application. So it's not the actual activity, it's what you do in that activity, and then how you can sell that activity on your medical school application, okay? What's a day like in the hospital? So this is kind of a big, broad question. It all depends on your specialty. Anesthesia, for me, I kind of liked when I got into it because what I thought it was going to be, and what it is kind of still, but it's not quite that, is that your day starts really, really early. So I mentioned I don't sleep much anyway, so getting up early for me is not a big deal. But by getting up early, your day should end earlier, right? So for anesthesia, you get to the hospital anywhere from between 5 and 6, depending on like what your first case is and how much stuff you have to set up. So between 5 a.m. and 6 a.m., you get to the hospital, set your stuff up. First case probably starts around 7, 7:20 in that range. You'll run cases all day. And in the private practice world, you're normally out by about 4 or 5 o'clock. In residency, you're out anywhere from 4 to 7 o'clock. And then if you have to take call, you'll stay overnight. But it's a busy day. But it's just a lot of seeing patients in terms of cases. You bring the patient in, you'll set up for the case, make sure you have everything prepared, bring the patient in, put the patient to sleep, intubate them, keep them alive during the case, wake them up effectively, transport them. So that's what I do as an anesthesiologist. There's a whole lot of mumbo jumbo. I went through it fast because I don't think anyone really cares about what my day is like as an anesthesiologist. So that's that. advice for transitioning to the first year of medical school is really the advice I would give anybody for transitioning to anything. So another project that I'm developing, I'm actually for Stanford Medical School, I'm developing a course that's all about transitioning from community college to university. So making that transition from community college to university, making it successful. And it's the same thing I would say in any kind of transition. And so I'm supposed to talk in a couple months to some first-year medical students about that transition. And then I'm supposed to talk to some second-year medical students about their transition from second-year medical school to third year. And it's basically the same principles I have in all these transitions. And the biggest one, right? So there's two. The first one is a transition starts the day you know you're going to be making that transition. And so a lot of people wait until they get to medical school day one and start struggling, and then they make adjustments to whatever they're doing. What I would advise someone who's transitioning to medical school or to a university or to college or wherever, or transitioning from junior high to high school, is anticipate obstacles, anticipate difficulties, and make adjustments accordingly, right? So one of the great things, so in my study course, right, I put in these 5 pillars, and the beauty of the 5-pillar system, right, and what we talk about is that now you have this core infrastructure that makes your studying very, very solid. So that way, at every level, when you transition, you can anticipate what the obstacles are going to be to you studying effectively, and you can put in things that are going to allow you to circumvent and get around them and be prepared for them. And so with this system, you can constantly add on tools and tools and tools and tools to be a complete student and continue to advance in your career. So that's what it is, right? So it's about anticipating what the problems are going to be, as opposed to letting the problems hit you in the face and be like, oh my gosh, I can't keep up, and then trying to make a change. So anticipate difficulty. The second thing I want to say is if you're going to make a transition, right? Anytime you're making a transition, it's a major life adjustment. And you have to understand, if you're moving through medical transitions, right, from college to medical school to residency, all these types of things, you're in this kind of pyramid where here's high school, here's college, here's med school, here's residency, and here's attending level, right? And at every single level, the pool is getting smaller, it's getting smarter, it's getting harder working, all these things at every single level. So be prepared and understand that no matter how great you were at one level, it has no bearing on the next level, because in the next level, you're going from, right, and I call it big fish, small pond syndrome. You're going from a small high school to a bigger college. You're going from a good college, right, to a medical school filled with great people. You're going from a medical school filled with great people to a residency filled with excellent people. And so you're always big fish, small pond. And so whatever worked for you before may not work for you in the future. And so anticipate the competition level stepping up, and be prepared to step up yourself and meet the challenge of it, right? So don't get so cocky and so in your head that, oh, I know everything there is to know. I got straight A's in high school, so when I get to college, it's nothing. I got straight A's in college, so when I get to medical school, it's nothing, right? Go beyond that and recognize that's what's happening, that's what's coming up. So that's what I would say. And then I would say, if you're going into first year of medical school, go in with the expectation that you're not going to know everything. Just go in trying to know what you need to know and a little bit more. But be comfortable with understanding you're not going to be able to memorize everything, because there's just too much information. All right. If that makes sense, everybody give me a like if that makes sense to you right now, what I just said about those couple questions there. Sorry, guys, I have to scroll through all these comments. I apologize. Awesome. So Vintage Now said, you've inspired me to study yesterday until 1 a.m. I did well on my test, so thank you. I appreciate that. So 5, send me an invite. You want me to come out to University of Florida? Send me an invite. Okay, so is being nationally ranked in a sport, specifically track and field, a solid extracurricular? Will it differentiate you from other applicants and positively affect your application? So you guys ask these questions, right? So it's just like the medical scribe question. Again, it's not the actual experience, It's your experience of that experience and how you sell it to medical schools. So if all you're going to talk about, and this is something we talked about in that medical school application webinar we did last month, is that all experiences are not the same experience. So someone could run track and they can write in their application, I ran track, track was fun, I was a national champion, won lots of trophies, I'm amazing at track. Okay? And that's awful. At the same time, you can have someone who never won a single race in their college track career. They never won a single race. But if they say something like, you know what? I never won a single race in college. But I kept trying and I never gave up. And it's that same determination, that same spirit to keep going on that I'm going to bring to medical school. And I know that over time, if I keep applying myself and I never give up and I never allow myself to be defeated, that I can get ahead and I can get there and I will never stop and I will never tire and I will never stop working towards getting my medical degree. That's something that medical schools will like and will let you stand out, because that lets them know exactly what you just said, Sir Charles. It lets them know who you are and what you bring to the table and why your experience is unique. Because everyone can run track, everyone can medical scribe, everyone can shadow, but what did you do that was unique in that experience, and how is it uniquely personal to you above everyone else? I know, somebody just said I'm really far back in comments. I know, guys. I was talking for a while, and you guys commented a whole bunch. I appreciate it. Let's see. So Casey asked, how do you find out if a med school is pass-fail? So if you guys came on here late, earlier I said one of the most important criteria for selecting a medical school is it pass or fail? And how do you find that out? You actually go on the medical school's website. They'll tell you. On their website, they'll talk about their curriculum and whether it's pass-fail or whether it's graded. Now I'm going to smack some of you guys down here because some of you guys are going to say, well, why do I want to pass-fail? I want to grade at medical school because I want the competition, blah, 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 right? No. You want to pass-fail medical school because everyone in medical school is very smart. And what you don't want to do is be forced to be going through and competing so hard to beat all these people to get straight A's in medical school when you could be spending your time doing research, doing other things to enrich your residency profile. It also allows you to spend some time with your family. So someone talked about how they were a 30-year-old with a wife transitioning to medical school. And what would be my advice? Well, if you go to a pass-fail university, it'll allow you to spend some more time with your wife because you're not competing for A's. All you have to do is pass. So you're working on passing. That's what you're working on. All right. Oh, actually, I'm so glad you put that comment right there. I know I'm way up at the top, but there was a great comment I just saw. I think it was C. Charles again coming in here clutch. Yes, there's a new Gatorade commercial. The whole thing of the commercial is, yes, you may be defeated, but you don't quit. So if you guys have not seen this Gatorade commercial, I'm going to actually see if I can pull it down and post it on this YouTube channel. I'll post this video of this Gatorade commercial. We're gonna borrow it and put it on this channel because it is hot fire. It's amazing. If you have not seen it, I'm going to describe it to you right now. But it has all these great athletes, and it starts off with Michael Jordan. And it says, you want to know what true success is or what winning is about or where winning comes from? And he says it comes from playing JV and having to ride the bench or something like that. And if you guys don't know, Michael Jordan actually was not on the varsity team until he was a senior. And so he said that being on JV propelled him. And then it goes through Peyton Manning. He says, do you know what success is? Success is going 3-13 your rookie year. And then Eli Manning is on there. He's like, you know what success is? It's leading the league in interceptions. And then the commercial ends with Matt Ryan. If you guys don't know, he's the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. Excuse me, my voice is going. He's the quarterback of the Atlanta Falcons. And he says, you know what victory is or success is? He's like, it's defeat. And if you guys don't know, Patriots came back on the Atlanta Falcons. They were down like 30 points. And came back and they won the Super Bowl. And so I'm like, it was an amazing commercial because it's everything I keep trying to tell you guys is that there is no such thing as real defeat. There is no such thing as real loss. There is no such thing as something that you can never come back from. You can always come back from it. It's the experience and how it makes you stronger. And I'm actually, so this is a little foreshadowing here. I'm going to do a video later this week. And I have to really, I'm not going to do it live because I have to really write it up properly to bring it so that it makes sense. But we're going to talk about rape because this came up in one of my sessions last week or 2 weeks ago when I was at a university, and we got on the topic of rape, and it was very, very deep conversation. And so I think that it's imperative that I talk about that, but in a controlled fashion where you guys can get what I'm talking about. But the hint at that is that there are going to be horrible, awful, terrible things that happen to you in your life. In medicine, outside of medicine, whatever it might be, you're going to experience loss in some way, right? You're going to experience being mistreated. You're going to experience horrors. It's not what happens to you. It's how you respond to that and how you continue and go forward, right? Anyone can say anything they want about me, but I don't let it faze me. I keep going, right? Because I can't let anything, right, in here. It's about how I react and about where I'm going. And so for you guys, I encourage you guys, right? Forget the struggle. Go beyond that, right? So Danielle, you're taking the MCAT. The struggle is real. If you have not enrolled in my MCAT class, then you're slipping. Because what my MCAT does is help you through that struggle and struggle effectively to reach success. That way you're not struggle to stagnate, you're struggle to succeed. So anyway. Oh, yes. Ray Charles. So I talked about Ray Charles yesterday. I won't get back into that today. So C. Charles is in my courses. He's on my Facebook group, so he knows. C. Charles is an enlightened cat, enlightened cat. I like C. Charles. So anyway, let's get back to. Can we do one more question? Let me do one more. And I'm sorry, I know you guys asked a bunch of questions on here. Wendy asks, are colleges against taking science prerequisites at a community college? So I have a video on that, so I want to answer that, but talking about prereqs and where you can take them. So look at the video for that. So Rye, thank you. I'm glad you like the channel. Caitlin, I'm glad you like the channel. So Cheryl asks, how can you sign up for my class? This is a good question to end on. No, I'm just joking. We're going to do a real question, but this is a question. How can I sign up for one of your classes? Well, you go to my website, www.premedproductivity.com, and you sign up. It's that easy. Enroll in a class. Go get it. Sam, what's your opinion on UCLA as a school? Congrats on the newborn, by the way. So Sam, I answered this question in the Facebook group. We talked about it. I filmed the whole video response to this, Sam. So get out of here. Get on the Facebook group, ask the question. If I didn't answer it sufficiently the first time, get on there. But it's about you. You're picking between UCLA and Cal, so pick one. I like UCLA better than Cal, but that's just me. I actually have a video coming up about Cal and how terrible it is. Last question of the night, guys. Sorry. If you asked a question I did not get to it, take the time. All you have to do is copy and paste it into an email. Email me the question. Or even better, after these Q&A sessions, just put it in the actual comment box because these all disappear after this is filmed. I can't access any of these. If you have a question, because I still will either respond to your email or I'll make a video out of it. So a lot of the videos I do on these channels are from people that sent me an email question. I was like, well, that's good. Let me do a video on that. And I'll do a video on it. So take a second. If I didn't answer your question tonight, copy paste your question into an email and send me an email. Or copy paste it into an actual concrete comment box that's underneath this video so that way you can get your question answered. Last question, let's see. Okay, this is actually a good question. So I'm sorry, your comment just disappeared. Your question just disappeared, but I'm going to answer it anyway. So I don't know who this is. I don't know who to give credit to. But someone said, I lost my hand. I'm having a difficult time finding a medical school that will let me in because of the technical standards. And so, as in anything, right? So every obstacle, there's always a solution, but we can't focus on the problem. We have to focus on the solution. If you don't have a hand, it immediately prevents you from going into certain specialties. It also makes medical schools leery because they're thinking someone with one hand, how can they be competent as a physician and serve patients and have options and do all these things? Oh, David, thank you. Okay, so it was you, David Smith. So if that's you, You can absolutely get into a medical school. You can absolutely make medical schools feel comfortable with you, but you're going to have to show them that you're competent. So what you have to do is take special note, and what I would actually do if I were you is I would get some sort of other highly technical job. So we talk about going into medicine, right? You have to be around patients and do all those type of things. So what actually might be really good for you is to be a volunteer counselor somewhere, where it's like either a counselor at like an old person's home or something like that along those lines, and provide, right, excellent patient care. And even though you're a volunteer, be there with them in some kind of capacity where you're helping them out, showing them that you can survive in that environment. The other thing I would do if I were you is I would show that you can keep up like intellectually, and that it isn't going to be an issue with you taking notes and having to do all these different things. And so show them by having exceptional grades. And you're in a tough spot if your grades are kind of mediocre, because then, right, you've given them an excuse, right? And they can say, oh, well, it's not your hand, it's that you couldn't keep up, and therefore we think it's because your hand, and therefore we're not going to put you in. So what you have to do is you have to be flawless in your application and say, listen, if you have any concerns about me succeeding, I've succeeded in every single which way. I've gone above and beyond. I have all these patient recommendations from people I worked with when I volunteered here that said I was amazing. I helped, I did all these things. So that way no one can have anything to say, right? And I always talk about this in these videos is success requires no apologies. If you're successful, you never have to apologize for anything, and you never have to worry about anybody questioning you, right? And so I can go out, right? So and this was, so I'm gonna send a shout out, right? A special shout out to Monica Perkins, who's the director of diversity at the UCLA School of Medicine. So I was at UCLA School of Medicine. I did a full day, 8 hours of lecturing up there 2 weeks ago, and I thanked her in that lecture, and she wasn't actually in the lecture, but I have tremendous respect for Monica Perkins, UCLA School of Medicine, and I appreciate her because she lets me come out and do whatever I want to do. Every time I go out to UCLA, I go out there, she doesn't ask to see my slides. I don't have to run slides by anybody. She's like, okay, how much time you need, what you need, we got you. Go out there and do your thing. And the reason she lets me do that is because I proved myself and showed, right, that I was capable of coming out and really rocking a group of students. Get in the room, we're live, we're having fun, we're laughing, we're crying at points, but we're always getting better. And so by being on point and being perfection when I show up and having a high standard every single time I show up, bringing something new and unique and different and empowering every single time I show up, I get total freedom. And so it's the same thing with your hand. If your hand is not there, that's an excuse. That's a reason they would want to use to keep you out. So you have to be that much more perfect in your application and in your process to get them to move the focus off your hand and onto your success. Because then there's no questions asked about your success if you're balling out. All right? So thank you, Ed, for ending us on a high note with some N-word juice. I love it. So thank you guys very much. I appreciate you guys being on here tonight. Like I said, if I didn't get your question tonight, I apologize. We've been on here an hour and 8 minutes. You can't say I rushed you guys off. Right? So I'll get to it. Keep coming back. Tell your friends to come out, get on this Q&A, get some questions answered, and we'll have a great time. I thank you guys very, very much for being here with me. As always, the website, www.premedproductivity.com. Get on there, get some courses, get better. Stop messing around, get better. So thank you guys very much. I'm going to go see what stage we're at right now with the kids and what's happening if everybody's sleeping in the bed and, and how much sleep I'm going to get tonight. But thank you guys very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you guys. Good night.